Hello everyone and welcome to After the Bell. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Dylan. I'm here with George and Max. We are your commentators on FNF as well. This is a show where we're going to talk about what happened on the show and give our opinions. If you would like to chime in and we can look at some of your comments, use the hashtag FNF episode 1, because that was what that was. Alright, so let's start off straight up with the welcoming promo. I got out there and I sort of gave everyone the information to do with the tournament, and I gave them the information to do with the rules of the championship. I want to ask you guys an opinion, just your opinion. What do you think about the rules of the championship? I personally, when I came up with the rules for it, was thinking, you know what, this is a way that I can make sure everyone on the roster has an open shot at the championship, and I can make sure that you might be, a person who's lost 10 matches in a row, but on this one night you could challenge the champion and you could win it for some unknown reason. What do you guys think?
I think, well, first of all, it's an interesting concept, and I like the idea. It reminds me of a lot of a certain title from Lucha Underground. But
Yes, yes.
but on that same topic, couldn't it get a little confusing if you have like 3, 4 guys coming out at once?
Well, see, the rule for it was the first person. So, what I think will have to be introduced is you can't just walk out there and challenge the champion. You have to physically come to the GM and be like, look, I want this match. Then I'll say, go out there and tell him. And I think I do it that way, because in that case, no superstar can go, well, hang on, I walked out 10 seconds before you, even though you went and spoke to the GM, I walked out 10 seconds before you. But you can't have your match because and I think I do it that way. But just, I think it's going to evolve, and I think, as per everything in this industry, it will evolve, it will slightly change, it will adapt, because if you don't adapt, there will never be growth.
You perish.
Exactly. Now, I think the next thing we need to talk about is we need to cover the initial bracket, and the bracket was quite interesting to me, personally. I mean, seeing the bracket, I was thinking, geez, we have that many talented people all in one thing. How is a single person out of that going to win when, we had that many people in there that, personally, I thought, quite frankly, a lot of different people in there could have won, but didn't. So you looked at the top left corner and you'd have Zayn and Kendrick and Rusev and Reigns, and let's quickly talk about what happened with Rusev and Reigns. I mean, Rusev goes and attacks Samoa Joe, who is someone that they wouldn't even have to face until the final round, and then Reigns walks out on him. What do you guys think about that?
Honestly, I think Reigns walking out on Rusev. I mean, part of me says I don't understand why he would, to leave Rusev to fend for himself, but on that same token, Rusev did take out a very angry Samoan named Samoa Joe, and maybe Roman thought, man, I don't want this guy on my side.
And you got to think, maybe there's a bit of mutual respect between Joe and Reigns, and maybe those two, somewhat get along. And maybe the point was that he, has that respect for him. Max, what do you think?
Well, first of all, you guys wanted some drink, so here I brought you guys some drinks,
I think I asked for them, in the second match when you got up and left randomly for no reason, but alright. Yeah, now it's as good as I'm saying.
But I was able to actually talk with Reigns about this whole situation, and going
See,
more
I feel like
depth
you and
into
Reigns are,
it.
best friends for some reason. That's just how it comes off, but anyways.
Well, but the thing about it is that with Reigns is that he's had a lot of tough times. He's earned a lot of things. He hasn't earned a lot of respect for people. However, uh, for him, he wants to like win a lot of these things fair. He doesn't want to take the easy way out. And with Rusev, that's a completely different thing. He'll do whatever it takes to win. Of course, the same thing with Roman. However, there are some areas that he won't stoop down. And with Samoa and Roman, to me, I feel like this might also be another rivalry we might see, because we have Samoa Joe wanting Rusev, and then Rusev wanting Reigns. So at any given moment, there might be a possibility Roman and Samoa Joe might have their own issues between them sooner or later because of Rusev.
Very true. Or the two of them might decide, you know what, common enemy, let's team up. There's those two possibilities there.
Very true.
Which, I mean, yeah, so that pretty much covers the attack and what happened there. As we move on to the matches now, and we talk about, so there was Rusev versus Zayn and Kendrick, and I mean, the way that match went was highly predictable, and I think the same can be said about Perkins versus Cesaro and Sheamus. And the reason they were highly predictable was because it was 1-on-2. And I mean, when you've got that numbers game in effect, I don't think that there is a way that the person... I mean, in both of these cases, both were competent athletes, and I'll give them that. But going against the athletes that were against, I don't see them winning. And that was just my opinion on it.
And I have to interrupt you real quick, Dylan. For me, actually, it's completely opposite with Rusev and Sammy versus Kendricks. To me, I felt Rusev could have taken both of them down. These two are cruiserweights, and to him, he sees them nothing more than just bugs. So he would have easily taken them down. But surprisingly,
you saying that makes me think he should have been teamed with Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, that was an exact line that he said. Maybe Corbin should have been on the show, and maybe he should have been with Rusev in that. Those two would have worked well.
And I'm not trying to give no credit against Sammy or Kendrick. These two are talented, and the same thing with Perkins. He's very talented. They're all just amazing cruiserweights. Except when you come to the fact that they aren't as big or as strong as these people like Cesaro, Sheamus, Rusev, Roman, etc. You would have to think that maybe the odds were in Rusev's favor. Except he just couldn't handle it. And with Perkins, the odds were against his favor, obviously. So, but to me, I felt maybe Perkins did have a chance. Obviously, as I stated before on the show, though, that he's won the Cruiserweight tournament, and not only that, but he's wrestled for nearly 18 years. So that has to say something, not only in his career, but as well in that tournament, that he had a chance. And he lasted very long against Cesaro Sheamus. Let's give him that, actually. If you notice how much.
I mean, that match was decent length, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just shows you that kid has a hell of a heart on him, and if he continues the way he's going, I see a bright future for him in FNF.
And Dylan, actually, I want to give you a quick question, since you're our GM.
Yeah.
Will Perkins have a shot at any title at this given moment? Because he was, pretty much given an unfair advantage.
Personally, I mean, I've got to be on the side of, stuff happens, that I physically couldn't do anything about Joe not being able to fight. But then again, Perkins is one of those guys that deserves a shot. And I think what will happen is, in the future, after Do or Die, once Zayn and Kendrick have their match, one of them becomes the champion, I think Perkins has got to be one of those top guys in line for that title. And I think you'd be silly not to think that Perkins was one of those top guys in line, But I also think, at the same time, I think for what Rusev did, he needs to have something done to him. I think, something needs to happen, because this is not a show where you can go around and you can just, attack someone and get away with it. I'm not having that. In my opinion, that is unacceptable.
I mean, I love a little violence, but when you attack somebody from behind,
and you leave them,
expecting it,
I got texted from Joe's doctor a full list of all the injuries he's sustained, and there's quite a few other things on that list other than the internal bleeding and hemorrhaging and the cracked ribs. I mean,
Anal bleeding?
I mean, no, thankfully. But look, the point is, Rusev, what he did is unacceptable, and something will have to happen. And for Perkins, as I said, you'd be silly to think he wasn't in the competition for that title, even though he got knocked out. I mean, as we come up to the next few matches here, I've got another thing that I wanted to discuss as perspective from the GM. But next week got Shinsuke Nakamura and Neville versus Angle and Hendry. Now that match was very interesting, partly for the point that Angle didn't tag in Hendry, and Angle hit Hendry. Angle wanted nothing to do with Hendry.
Well, see, Angle, to me, is at that point in his career where he's a legend. And we all know that Angle does not get along well with tag teams. I mean, unless your name is Team Angle. But you gotta think back to that. Angle and tag teams do not mix. Angle has accomplished so much in a singles career, so why would he waste his time with the tag teams?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of the Angle situation comes down to whether he has the respect for Hendry as an athlete. I mean, Hendry hasn't been in any of the, he hasn't been in New Japan, he hasn't been in Lucha, he hasn't been in WE, he hasn't been in TNA. But where he has been, he's been in almost every independent around the world. He's been in all of them. He's done well in all of them. And I think Angle needs to have that respect for him in that regard. I mean, sure, he didn't, he until now he hasn't been one of the top dogs in the industry. But I think for him to make it here proves a point. And I think Angle needs to respect that.
Yeah, but even so, Angle is still a legend. And if I may draw a comparison, think about 2 years ago when Grotto and Al Snow were both in TNA. Al Snow didn't appreciate Grotto taking away the seriousness of wrestling from him. And so what does Al Snow do? Him, being the legend that he is, goes and takes out Grotto. This is exactly what, to me, Angle is trying to do to Hendry, to prevent the new guy from rising and making sure the focus is always on the old guard.
And,
But
sorry, I won't cut you off there, Max.
it's fine.
Go for it.
Alright, thank you. But the thing about it is that Kurt Angle should know that in a given time, and probably in the near future already soon enough, that his career is going to be over soon. So he should face the facts that we have a new upcoming talent like Joe Hendry that is going to take his spot. And if anything else, he might be even better than Kurt Angle will ever be.
Well, there's always that possibility, and I mean, with every superstar ever, there's the possibility of being better than another superstar. But again, we won't know if he's better than him for years, because to say that someone's better than someone else, you need to be able to look at it retrospectively, and I think, that sure, 5-10 years down the track, we can look back and go, you know what, Hendry at his peak of his career was better or was worse than Angle at the peak of his career, but I think we need to see him at his peak for that. Which, moving on
Maybe
from there...
Angle... and maybe also, I don't mean to cut you off, Dylan,
yeah,
but
sorry.
on that same token, maybe Angle realizes that his time is running out, and he wants, to put on some of the best matches of his career to feel like that he can still compete with the young guns.
So, after that, we had the whole Joe incident, which, I mean, we've gone over and we've spoken about. Then we had Ziggler and Lethal versus Roode and Miz. Now, that was another interesting match. I mean, The Miz ran away twice during that match. It was obvious he wanted nothing to do with fighting, but Rude somehow still managed to pick up the win there, and more credit to him for that. What do you guys think?
Honestly, I think Miz was trying to run away from a fight, and Rude, on the other hand, was trying to get a fight and to get further in that title tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like to me Miz wanted no part of that, and trust me, Miz doesn't have the greatest tag team record either. I mean, if don't believe me, just ask John Morrison, R-Truth.
There's so many teams you could look at and see why Miz was never going to be a good tag team wrestler. I mean, it's not that he's not good in the ring, and it's not that he can't work as a team, but Miz always cracks, his team always falls.
Yes, that is very true.
But you also have to wonder why, though. Why would he do this? You know, he knows that he has an opportunity at a title, and whether he has a good record at tag teams or not, that he should know he has that opportunity right in front of him. And if I was a Miz, you know, I would put everything aside, you know, of my history and all that, just away for one night, and then focus on that title. And I'm sure Dylan and George, you guys can agree with me on this. You know, if you had that title shot and there was an obstacle in your way, you know what? Go through that obstacle and go for that title shot. Because
the thing about this is, when we get to the next match with The Miz, that's obvious it wasn't his mindset. Because why else did he go in there with the chair, hit Rude, and hit Cesaro?
Maybe because he wanted,
wouldn't you think if Miz's ultimate goal was, I need this championship, I want to prove that I'm good, don't you think that then what he would do is he would actually participate in the match and he would actually help to win the match, instead of, you know what, stuff this, let's get ourselves disqualified?
well, in my opinion, if anything else, and I'm assuming the Miz is going to be in the Rumble at the pay-per-view, and we're going to talk about that later, aren't we, Dylan?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, but with that, I feel like in Miz's mindset, you know, he doesn't need a tag partner, obviously. You know, he feels like, you know what, this tournament to me, I don't need it. I feel like I can win that Rumble and win that title by myself. I don't need any partner. And I think that might be his mindset at this point, where, you know, he tagged you know, Rude and Cesaro with that chair. So maybe that might be his mindset. Maybe that might be what he's trying to go for, that he doesn't need anyone else. He just needs himself, The Miz.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
The Miz has always been about himself, going back all the way back to his early career up until now. He's always been all about himself.
he's also been all about what other people can do to further his career. And on that, let's go to the next match, and you see we had Zayn and Kendrick against Angle and Hendry. So this is a very interesting match for the fact that Angle had it under control in the beginning, but then Zayn and Kendrick would tag to each other. And in tagging to each other, they put in a fresh man each time, you know, and they allowed themselves to, you know, replenish some of their energy. And 2-on-1, they bait Angle. And I say it was a 2-on-1 because Angle would not tag in Hendry. Hendry tried numerous times to get in the ring. He he even tried to run in the ring and just do something, you know, to get, I believe it was Zayn was going for a submission, and he tried to run in the ring to get him off. But the point was that he was not allowed to do anything, and I feel like if he was, that match would have been completely different.
Yeah, and I would have to actually correct you on that. Not a 2v1, but a 3v1. Because to me, I feel like Angle thought, you know, Joe Hendry was just another enemy. You know, he had to focus on not only.
But that would be
family, but...
so you're saying it would be a 3v1 in Angle's opinion, but from the rest of our opinion, it looked more like a 2-on-1. I mean,
exactly,
because
it was almost
it kind of felt like Hendry was just there, you know, acting as a valet, acting as a manager for Angle. That's what it felt like.
Well, for Angle, is that he just.
I agree.
he just didn't want the tag in. And that's why I was saying it's a 3v1 to him, because he didn't want Henry to be any part of this. And so every time Henry try to go like for a tag or try to interfere in a match, that's what he didn't want. That's what he was trying to avoid.
Which, I mean, then we come up with the final match, and it was very interesting who made it to that final match. So we had Zayn and Kendrick, and we had Cesaro and Sheamus.
One dysfunctional team.
We had, well, no, the thing was, we had one team in there that have proven in the past that they could work well as a team, and we had one team that in their 2 previous matches had proven that they can work as a team, they can coexist, and they could damn well win this thing, which they ended up doing. But, I mean, it was very interesting for the fact that I honestly thought Cesaro and Sheamus would win because of their history with tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may have been teaming together a short time, but if you put those two together, they're bound to make magic either way.
I mean, they, in the Survivor Series match, those two were the reason that their team won.
Mm-hmm.
And there's numerous other occasions where one had saved the other, and they had won the match, somehow magically, out of thin air, when it looked like it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
But then you go, okay, so Zayn and Kendrick win, then I leave the commentary desk, I get in there, and I say about how it's going to be in a TLC match, they match up at Do or Die. Now, here's my question for you guys. TLC, who does that benefit? Does it benefit Sami Zayn because it gives him something he can use against Kendrick? Or does it benefit Kendrick because even though, he says he's the man with a plan, but to everyone else, it looks like he's more unhinged and uncaged, and he feels like he's got the Dean Ambrose kind of style in the ring, where he'll go in there and he'll do whatever he has to win. But then again, Sami Zayn is the kind of guy that, if he has to, he will do what he has to as well. So who does it benefit?
Honestly, I think it benefits Kendrick, as he is one of the smartest competitors, not only in the WWE ring, but his entire career.
You say
he
that,
is one of the...
but then Sami Zayn has proven time and time again he has got amazing ring smarts.
Yeah, but even though Zayn has that amazing ring presence, as you say he does, he is still no Brian Kendrick. And Brian Kendrick has been wrestling a long, long time. As a matter of fact, he learned from one of the very best in the business. He came from Shawn Michaels Wrestling School.
But what I think would be interesting is if Zayn or Kendrick win, depending on who wins. If I so choose to put TJ Perkins in that mix and make him versus whoever wins, who out of that do you see coming on top? Because if you've got Zayn and TJ, that's going to be an interesting match. I mean, I don't know who would win that.
That could definitely be the Dean Malenko versus the Jericho of our era,
And then you've got Kendrick and Perkins, and if you had those two go up against each other, we've seen time and time again that it will go either way depending on the night and depending on the... It's almost depending on the weather, It's such a random draw who wins that, and I think it's because they are so evenly matched.
Yeah. And I would have to say that, if we have Sami and Perkins go against each other for the title soon enough, if Sami wins it would be unpredictable between those two, because we haven't seen these two fight at all whatsoever. So seeing these two fight, it's going to be crazy. But with Kendricks and Perkins, as you said before, we've seen them time and time again. Perkins or even Kendricks might have the upper hand on each other because they know each other so well that they can predict each other's moves. And honestly, it's going to be a 50-50 chance if one of those two go against each other.
Very valid point, Maxie. I do concur that it's very true.
I'm just getting a bunch of messages right now. Guess what's wrong? Very interesting right here. So, on the previous article we've been talking about, we've talked about TJ Perkins and the whole him getting a shot. Well, I mean, the man himself is intrigued at what's going to happen. And I'm sure he'll watch this. So I'm just gonna say it again. Personal opinion says he's gonna face one of these two guys after the pay-per-view. But you know what? Hey, I'm going to put up a poll after this with the hashtag FNF. No, I don't know what hashtag is going to be on it. There'll be some hashtag, but it's going to be a poll on Twitter. And look, my question for you guys is, what is the match do or die going to be? Is it going to be Zayn and Kendrick in a one-on-one TLC match? Or, because Perkins got screwed over, am I going to put him in there? And is it going to be a triple threat TLC match for the title? Now,
honestly,
I know that Perkins did not.
A whole new dynamic.
I just want to say something. I know that Perkins did not win his shot in the tournament, but Perkins, he has just as much right to be in that match as any of the others do. And I feel like you, the fans, will decide. Do you want him in there or not? If it's a yes, he's in that match 100%. Book it, Vince. Well, Vince can't book it, I'll book it, but anyways.
But actually, Dylan, speaking of pay-per-views, though, real quick, why don't we head over to the actual pay-per-view, Do or Die, actually? Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
What's that all about?
let's go with Do or Die. Alright, so, firstly, as we just talked about, we've got the match for the Superstar Championship. We're also going to have a... So, this is going to be the first I'm telling anyone about this. What we've planned, and people will know about the Rumble already, which is fine. So we're going to have a Rumble. We're going to have a certain amount of superstars all competing. The winning superstar grants himself the FNF Ultimate Fighter Championship. That's right, it's going to be decided in the Rumble because this year we don't have a champion going into it. We're also going to have another Rumble.
That is a very good idea. Brings me up.
But
that reminds me a lot of the Rumble in 1993, I believe it, or no, not 93, 92, I believe it was, when Ric Flair won the top WWF title in the Royal Rumble.
We had one just a few years ago with Roman Reigns. He had to put his title on the line in the Rumble. That was an interesting dynamic. And I feel like having...
It was actually just last year.
That was actually just last year, Dylan.
Yeah.
Do you
Yes,
not
it
remember?
was. You know, I'm forgetting them. I'm more focused on this. But no, legitimately though, we have got quite a talented women's roster, as I'm sure you'd agree. We've got 10 of the best from around the world. These 10 women will all be in a 10-woman Rumble. Now that Rumble will determine the FNF Women's Champion.
Ooh, that's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, and really going back to something over to the Rumble, and like, pardon me though, Women's Rumble right there, excellent choice right there.
Thank you.
Going back to the Rumble, there are two questions to it. How many entrants are going to be in that? And depending on that number, will we be seeing any surprise, debuts on that Rumble? Will we see any new superstars coming out?
I'm going to cut you off right there, and I'm just going to straight out answer your question. The number of superstars, we will tell you that at the event. The reason for that is we have a set number of people on the roster that I'm sure anyone, like, we've revealed the roster. You can go and you can look at the roster and you could count how many people there are. And that's why we're not telling you. Because if we tell you, then you're going to know if we have any surprises up our sleeves. Which, I'm going to be honest, straight up with you right now. Yes. Yes, we do.
Alright, well, fair enough then.
Hold on.
I mean, yeah, just to answer your question completely straight out, there are numerous surprises.
Yeah, Dylan, seeing as you are the GM and everything, did you authorize a madman to just text me screaming he was in agony?
I'm honestly not sure what you're on about.
Are you sure you're not talking to some old Joe?
I mean...
No. I just got a text from
update.
some dude who's hidden his identity. He's like, I'm in agony! I'm coming to Do or Die!
And that reminds me of someone, and I'm just gonna drop a few hints here, who may have been thrown off the top of a Hell in a Cell, who may have gone through a flaming table. I don't know much about Mankind as a whole, but something tells me that there is someone who is a part of Mankind who may be in this match.
That's gonna be interesting. That person.
Mankind is
Yeah,
one twisted son of a bitch, I will say that, but...
I mean, look, I'll be completely honest, and I will name drop right now. Mankind will not be in the FNF Do or Die Rumble. He will not.
But I do know who it is. It's gonna be Dude Love. Definitely, I'm calling it right now.
Okay,
Dude
I'm
Love
going
is
to be
gonna be.
completely honest with you right now. Dude Love, Mankind, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley as a whole is not in the Rumble. Or is he? Maybe I'm just messing with you. You're never gonna know because I'm not gonna tell you. The whole point of it is, Mankind maybe, he may not. You know.
He may pull a 1998 and we'll have 3 faces of Foley again. Who knows?
Maybe someone who isn't officially part of the roster, like, I don't know, a John Cena may turn up. You don't know what's going to happen until it happens, and once it's happened...
Or what if The Undertaker wants to turn up, maybe,
well,
and
maybe he wants
dig a hole?
Hey.
Or maybe even a...
There's many possibilities. It's very intriguing. We're getting close and just getting red lighted here. Apparently we need to cut off in a sec. So any final questions or statements? And yeah. All right. So about the Rumble, any tag team championship? There's a question for you. What do you think is going to happen with that? I'd love to know your opinion. Considering the entire event's based around Rumbles, what do you think's happening?
A tag team Rumble?
Well, I mean, similar, but no. Effectively, I don't know if you've heard of the concept of a gauntlet match. It's kind of like a gauntlet match, except it's more of a tag team turmoil style match. Effectively, 2 teams are going to start in there. One of them's going to be eliminated, another team's going to come down to take their place. This will go on until all the teams bar one have been eliminated. That team will be crowned the champions.
Interesting. That leaves a lot of good matchups in there. You could have the Wyatts versus, I believe you hired them young studs, American Alpha, right?
Hey, they are in there. There is one team that I need to reiterate aren't technically on the roster as of right now. So we do have listed on the roster. I did get, before the roster reveal was released, did get them omitted from that though. Which is the team of Gallows and Anderson, the Bullet Club. As of right now, we are still in negotiation with them, because effectively what's happened is they're currently signed with NJ PW, which we can't have. And so we're just trying to work out a deal where they can fall out of New Japan and come work with us.
And definitely, and
which I'm going to be...
Are you at least
I
planning?
just want to be completely honest with you right now. They will not be in the Tag Team Rumble.
Oh, there goes my question.
There is no way that we will have that deal done by then.
Again.
Highly... Yeah, there's a lot of parts that go into deals like this. When they show up, it'll be random. It'll be some random event sometime. Who knows? They'll run in. They'll kick some ass. That's what's gonna happen. We all know that's what's gonna happen. But I mean, other than that, anyone got any questions?
George, you go first. You got anything?
Honestly, I think I'm good on questions now. But you did mention something that kind of piqued my interest just a little bit.
Yep.
Seeing as you mentioned Gallows and Anderson as their big-time independent guys, any chance in the future we might see other independent guys like maybe Cassius Ohno?
Okay,
or,
I'll cut you off right there, and I want to I want to answer this question as best as I can, but I can't release too much information about a thing that we've got going on. Effectively, we are going to have a way for independents to get onto FNF, but it's not going to be through conventional means. It's not going to be, hey, the fans want you, or hey, we think you're good at wrestling, let's get you in here. No way in hell. As tonight proved, I'm a big fan of tournaments. That's as much as I'm going to say.
Interesting. Maxie, any final things you'd like to add?
Honestly, the only thing I can say is that I'm very excited for Do or Die, this upcoming pay-per-view, and hopefully everyone watching at home right now, hopefully you tune in to watch that pay-per-view, because Dylan has made an amazing match card, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen.
I just want to say something. Just quickly, I would like to thank you guys for being the commentary team. I would like to thank you for being co-hosts of this show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at Do or Die on the commentary desk with me, which, I mean, sounds odd, and I guarantee there's going to be people out there that thinks it's odd that GM is part of the commentary team, but hey, it happened. It was really quite spur of the moment. It just kind of flowed, and we were like, you know what, let's do it. Anyways, I mean, on that, my final comment for the day is thank you all for being a part. Thank you for watching FNF Episode 1. Thank you for watching After the Bell. Again, if you want to chat about this, if you're chatting about specifically FNF Episode 1, use the hashtag FNF Episode 1. It was visible all through the episode. And if you want to chat about this, just use the hashtag ATB EP1, which stands for After the Bell Episode 1. And on that hashtag, leave questions for next episode, which, remember, will be after Do or Die. So leave questions for us, whether you want to leave questions about this, whether you want to leave questions about, in advance, like, what do you think of the person who won the Rumble? Well, we don't know who it is as of right now, but you could still ask, so feel free to drop a tweet, and we'll be sure to have a read-through next time. And eventually, we're considering this, and if it does become a live show, we'll let you live tweet along. We'll have live tweets, that sort of thing, and we'll, we're going to have a little annotation, top right-hand corner of your screen, little eye symbol. Tap on that, vote yes or no if you want this to become a live after the show broadcast. That's it from me. Anyone else?
Nope, I think that pretty much concludes it here. This is George, and it's been a fun time, boys.
And Max, if you wanna.
I got nothing else to say. I'll just, tune in for this pay-per-view. It's gonna be a really exciting match. It's been Max, and, stay awesome, guys.
Alright, thank you all for watching. Don't forget the poll about TJ Perkins and making it a triple threat after the, which will go live on our Twitter at the end of this. I'll put it up right now. So let us know what you think. Thank you for watching, and good night.